All right. Let's discuss celibacy. Why celibacy is so important for living a spiritual life. Living a spiritual life. This is one of the most important practices in the spiritual life if you are really really serious about gaining insight into the human nature. It's not really about, people say there's so much talk in the spiritual community about how, well, it's true that celibacy brings peace of mind, but it's not really true that celibacy brings something like happiness. Or if you count peace of mind as as happiness, which it is, then celibacy brings happiness, but it doesn't really bring you that amount of, like, the stuff that most people seek. It's not really about that. It's much different. And why it's so important? It relates to our human nature and our Buddha nature. Basically, it's about choosing between these two. Like I have studied a lot of people on YouTube, like and of course from books. I have studied lots of people that live completely different lifestyles, like like people who are in relationships, people who are fucking pickup artists, pickup people who are monks, people who are priests, people who live the scientific, from the scientific perspective, people who live from the religious perspective, people who live from the satanic perspective, people who think that sexual magic is the way to enlightenment. People, I have studied all these fucking I have studied all these ways of seeing the world and being in the world. And personally, I have come to the conclusion, especially in this topic, that for peace of mind and emotional stability, this is the way. This way has a high price, because this way is like retiring from life, pretty much. This in essence is well, it practicing celibacy and meditation brings you so fucking steady mindset that nothing can really shook you in that sense. And it brings you so much detachment from the world that nothing can really make you feel real fear or terror or anything, because you start to, you no longer feel things. That's the secret of the meditation and contemplation and celibacy. You no longer feel things. You see your emotions, and this is so different from feeling your emotions. You see them. You see them as you know how emotions are weird things. People repress them and all that they don't feel them. This is not the way. Like celibacy brings your feelings to the surface, and especially in the start, it brings them a lot to the surface. With with meditation, it's the same thing. It brings consciousness to your subconscious mind and its problems. But really, what this does is that you begin to see your feelings. It's different seeing your feelings. Like, think about this. If you hurt your leg or something, and you have practiced celibacy, meditation, contemplation, all these concentration exercises, when you hurt your leg or something, you don't really feel the pain. You see it. It's like it's there. It's like almost like there was a dog beside your leg, and you were just observing, or not a dog, like any lifeless object. You start to observe even pain as a lifeless object, and it's pretty odd. I have thought about this a lot. It's not like dissociation, because it doesn't remove. It's not like apathy, because it doesn't dull your emotions. It's like they are there, but they don't matter. Like, you can be fucking anything, like in the deepest hole of your mind, and you won't even care, because there's so much detachment, and you can't really cultivate this detachment if you are engaging with the world a lot. This distance that you create through meditation, through contemplation, through celibacy, this cannot be really achieved if you are interacting with the world the normal way. The normal way. And if you really think about it, where does power come from? Well, you could say that power comes from manipulation of situations. It comes through intelligence. So it comes through the mind, it comes through body, it comes through humanity, or the human experience is what is behind power. But there are two kinds of power in the world. The first kind is just what I told you about. It's that you see around you. You see in politics. You see in the military. You see this is the ego side of the power, and then there's this other side of power, and that's the holy side of power, and that power comes from the spirit. That power comes from the untouchable, and that power creates something that has that certain quality to it, that holiness, and that cannot be created through the mind or through the intelligence. Well, of course you use the intelligence with your God consciousness, basically, to create something great, but your job is to just let it through. Let God create it. let God create it for you. And to let God create it, you have to open the channel to the source of the unlimited power. and that unlimited power, that comes from God. That doesn't come from the body or the intelligence. Yes, you can manipulate situation, you can be the most cunning thief in the world and rob all the banks and not get caught. But is that really power? If you can get people to fucking work for nothing for your city company that sells shit to people and poisons them basically like McDonald's and Starbucks. But is that really power? Well, no, it's about manipulation, it's about survival. This is about going beyond survival. This is about tapping into something that has the power to transform the world into something that's main purpose is not really physical. It's more about consciousness. It's about raising the level of consciousness. And I think that some people are geared more towards consciousness, like in the sense that their impulse control, this comes from early childhood development. I think I have studied some things about serial killers and why they have so poor impulse control and and psychopaths. But why they have so poor impulse control is mainly because their upbringing that has been really poor. Like their situation that they have grown up in was really shitty, and that brings to the surface the poor impulse control. Well, if you have poor impulse control, you're never going to reach that. You're not going to live the contemplative life. It's not going to happen. The world has too many distractions. You're gonna get caught in it. It's not going to happen. So how do we cultivate impulse control? Well, I'm going to film next video about it. But what I really talked about in this video was celibacy. And what is the point of celibacy? Well, it's to gain certain distance from the body. Why do we want the distance from the body? This is psychological subjective experience. Well, we want this distance because we want to tap into that power that comes from our real self, and that real self is disconnected from the body. It's not in any relation to the body, and you can feel this if you go and listen to some enlightened like Buddhist monks or something, like for example a great master called Kalu Rinpoche, or how do you pronounce it in well, anyway, Kalu Rinpoche, if you listen to him speak, you can really feel that he has no body, and it's so fucking deep. It's so, like, being in the presence of that kind of person is really life changing. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, how is this even possible? Like it changes your whole reality. It's like you are yanked from the world. It's like you are not going back there anymore, because you cannot unsee that when you come across this. And this is rare quality even in enlightened masters, because enlightenment is gradual, but basically it's like the digital, because it's not gradual. It's one or the other, but it still has gradual elements to it. Like it requires so much work to really purge the shadow aspects of your psyche. psyche, and all my content and art is pretty much purging the shadow aspects of humanity from myself. It's about enlightenment work. That's why I'm so honest in my videos about my state, because I have seen so many spiritual people that are fake, because they don't really talk about what happens in their subconscious mind. Maybe they are not even conscious of what happens in their subconscious mind, and that weakness that they are too focused on the light, that they can they cannot dive into the darkness and see the darkness. It's too hard for them, and that's why they cannot reach balance. They cannot reach the state of mind that is really balanced, that is really grounded. They just cannot reach it because they deny shadow aspects of themselves. And this is a slippery slope, because if you look into the darkness can swallow you. But it's not about acting the stuff. It's about seeing. It's about seeing the stuff that is dark in you. That is the animal nature. And where do you see it? You see it from the Buddha nature. You see what is bad from what is good. You in essence you are perfect. In essence you are perfect, but in substance you are worthless, or you are far beyond perfect in substance. And when we die we will lose the substance, but there are some remains that stick in, that bring us back if we don't deal with them. And that's why it's really important to deal with these issues in yourself. It's not really enough that we seek the light in life. It's not really enough, because we have to become the light, and we have to be the light and take the light into our darkness, so we can see it and purge it. It's not really. We are not going to get better until we go there. Until we go into the abyss. And that this is why I have studied Satanism so much, and paganism, and all this dark shit, because it deals with sexuality, and sexuality is the primal sexuality and violence. These two are like the opposite teachings compared to religion that gears towards light. These are opposite teachings. They encourage you to the darkness. And I think that it's really important that we understand both of these sides. It's really important that we understand our enemy. If we want to defeat our enemy, we have to understand how it operates. And the mind is the most keen operator in existence. It really wants you to take to the darkness all the time. It doesn't want you to live in the truth, because the truth terrifies the mind and the body so much. That's why when people get Kundalini awakenings and all this, it's fucking intense. It's fucking intense. It can be terrifying, because when you awaken to the higher self, it's like dying. It's like dying, and this process is about dying. This process is about going to heaven before your body dies. So don't let Eve tempt you. You will fall if you believe what Eve says believe what God says, because if you believe what God says, you will reach heaven. If you believe what Eve says, you will go to hell. It's so simple if you're a Christian. But then if you are like me, it's not that simple. It's like, well, believing Eve is fucking stupid. You know that the wench is lying. But he probably has she probably has something to show you. Well, if you go into the darkness, you are gonna surface with something pretty important, and that's insights into the subconscious dimensions, the dark dimensions, that in the end will make you something like a Luciferian. When you have the light, that you can take into the darkness, like you don't worship God, you become God. This is about this is about, like, not in the ego sense. You don't become God in the powerful sense that the ego wants to grasp. Always when people say that I want to become a god, they think about power in the ego sense. But really, it's not about power. It's about self-realization. If you become really self-realized, you realize that you are God. If you are God, you are the light. If you are the light, you can take it anywhere that is dark, and that's where you start the real work of spirituality, and the work that can change the world. So thank you for this video. The next video I'm going to film is going to be about impulse control. Yes, thanks.